Hey Boo Crew. I don't know if I'm gonna post this video, so if you're watching this, I posted it. My hair's a mess. I just threw on a little jacket. My dog is here, so you're probably gonna hear some dog noises. I'm not even in my doll room. I'm upstairs, in my regular room, whatever. That I have some trinkets. I feel like sometimes it's not about the camera you're using, the whatever room you're in, or however you look. Sometimes you just wanna sit down and talk. So I won't be editing this video with any cuts or anything. So if I hesitate or say a lot of ums and whatever, I'm just talking and processing my thoughts as I go. But the reason why I wanted to do this video is, and I feel like it's very appropriate that I'm not in my full persona, bubbly, Met Monster High aesthetic, because I'm just not really happy right now with America and the world. And I feel like a lot of people do not realize, or maybe it's just because it's so second nature, because of I bring up topics, important topics, along with my doll content all the time, that you might not realize that everything I talk about Monster High related, in terms of racism in the Monster High community, or transphobia in the Monster High community, or fat phobia in the Monster High, anything that's I'm calling out bigotry in the name of Monster High, which who am I? I'm not even an official ambassador or anything. I just call myself Met Monster High. Why do I call myself Met Monster High? Because it's my main thing. And it's you come to my page, you know what you're going to get, kind of thing. It was never to associate myself with the brand, because I'm far from being associated with Mattel or Monster High in any way. I do not own any copyrights. I just use it as my stage name, like Trixie Mattel, Met Monster High. But I do value Monster High as a brand, and I'm getting to the point, okay? Like I said, I have a lot of thoughts in my head, and I just wanted to sit down and digress. So this is definitely a different format, but I associate myself with Monster High, and I call myself Met Monster High, because honestly, what made me fall in love with Monster High was, in fact, the message. Obviously, the aesthetic, because as you guys know, I love horror movies. I love horror. I literally have a freaking ghost face tattoo on my arm. I am. That's who I am. So obviously, I fell in love with the aesthetic of Monster High back when I fell in love with Monster High. But also, when I learned about the message, that's what made me fall in love with Monster High. And I think a lot of people do not realize that Monster High, I'm sorry, but it is way more than just the dolls. It is that deep. It is people that don't have accountability for their actions, thoughts, or hate. They will always say it's not that deep. That's what gaslighters do. That's what, people that do not have accountability do. They just blame it on oh, it's not that deep. But it is. It is. Because Monster High was definitely created to have that impact, because it was lacking in the doll space, in the toy space in general, right? Everything was always superficial. Yes, we have Barbie, for example, that Barbie was such a revolution in terms of women's rights. So it is always attached to something, but Barbie was never for underdogs or whatever like that. So I feel like Monster High did what no other brands were doing. Every brand. Jesus Christ, I went to school for marketing. I know my shit. I know. Everything has a purpose. Nothing is just because. They're not gonna create yeah, let's create a doll brand just because. No. There has to be a mission. There has to be a message. And Monster High's message is be yourself, be unique, be a monster. That in itself says everything you need to know about Monster High. So yes, it is attached to if you watch a Monster High movie and you have media literacy, because media literacy is dead. But if you have media literacy, you will understand, as a parent, as a consumer, as an adult collector, as a child, that Monster High movies all have a message. Since the beginning of times, cautionary tales are a thing. Nothing is just because. Art has always been and will always be somewhat political, somewhat attached to reality. It's life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art. It's a constant, like it is. And no, it's just because it's made for kids. Yes, it is made for kids because they're trying to teach kids what the streets don't teach, what most parents don't teach, which is acceptance, love. How many kids are taught at home to be hateful? How many kids are, because these behaviors are taught. No one is born a racist. No one is born homophobic, transphobic. No one is. That is taught. Okay? So Monster High deconstructed that. For many families, many kids, the creator is a gay man, for God's sake. So I think it should go without saying. Another thing, the Generation 1 versus Generation 3 type of thing, because nobody really talks about Generation 2. Let's be really honest here. Generation 2 does deserve its flowers, which is a whole nother subject. But when Generation 1 came out, right, so back in 2010, there was not something that Mattel would even be comfortable in including queer characters or anything like that. Also about the design of the dolls, I think back then for them, it's so much easier anyways to make every doll with the same body type. It's a brand new line. They're on a budget probably. That cuts a lot of costs, having everyone have the same body type. So I don't even think it was like yeah, everyone is skinny because everyone is skinny. No. I think it was like a choice there because they're investing in something new. They don't know it's going to work out. Like, it's a lot. Versus Generation 3, Monster High already made its name, its legacy, plus different times. Like, what, 10 years later-ish? Monster High Generation 3 came out a decade later. So the world moved. I know now we're in a fucking retrocess, but the world has moved on. And obviously, things are different now, right? So when you think about it, Generation 3 is able to do things and go places that Generation 1 wasn't. Different times. Different times. So I'm really proud of Generation 3 for doing what it does. For Shea Fontana, the creator of the I was going to say web series, the creator of the Nickelodeon series, which I absolutely love. I literally purchased season 1 and 2, and I watch it like a lot. I love the message. Yes, it is for kids, because another topic that we need to talk about, and I will be addressing it right now, it's for a different audience as well. Because Monster High Generation 1 was made literally for like preteens. Back then, preteens were still into toys a little bit. Now they're not. Now they're all about skincare, and they're all about technology and the latest iPhone and the new, brand, like purses and fashion. They're not into toys. So obviously the demographic for Generation 3 is a younger demographic that Generation 1 was made for. Not necessarily that young audiences didn't like or resonate with Generation 1, but they were made to cater to both kids and preteens that were still into toys in a sense. Versus Generation 3, I feel like it's very much like for like kids. Obviously, us adult collectors, we partake, but essentially it is not made with us in mind, right? Like, it is for kids. Now, another thing, the fashion. Oh, but like the colors are so bright. Have you seen some of the Monster High Generation 1 dolls? Donna the Dance, which everybody loves and die for, there's very few black accents on that little line. It's all like bright colors and stuff. Like, Monster High Generation 1 also has a ton of dolls that are like Abby Abominable. She's all white and pink and blue. Like, some characters, that's just their aesthetic. Like, people are like, oh, I miss the black. Generation 3 is bringing a lot of black and incorporating more and more and more. But some characters are just not like that. I get it, like the first core, that's what people think about. They think about Generation 3 as the very first core line that ever came out, they've also evolved, as we can tell. Like, now, you don't necessarily have to like Generation 3. I don't like Generation 2, but you don't catch me talking about it constantly and making it my whole personality. If you want to, go for it. That means you're a hateful person. Which brings me back to the beginning of the video. People who hate on Generation 3, most times, oftentimes, I'm generalizing, they are connected to bigotry. Because Frankie's non-binary, because Caddy Noir, why is Caddy Noir fat? Or because, why didn't they create new characters? Because Lucas from Oklahoma, nobody would have cared if they created new characters. Y'all would have been complaining about a different thing, like, oh, bring Dracula back, bring Frankie back. No, y'all be complaining if these were new characters as well, because that's what people like that do. They just complain. They just complain. You are looking for things to complain. They have all the power and the licensing to change all the characters if they want to. It's not for you anymore. It's not for you anymore, Michelle from Arkansas. Like, sorry, it is not for you anymore. If you don't like it, that's fine. It isn't for you. So I feel like at the end of the day, we are all adults. If you don't like something, don't buy it. If you don't like something, don't consume it. If you don't like something, scroll away. You don't need to be watching unboxing videos of Generation 3 dolls only to comment something so unhinged and ridiculous. Just go find a Generation 1 video and comment on that and be like, I love that doll. You do not need to bring something down in order to hype something up. Like, if you need to be constantly doing that, you're a hateful person. And again, the country is the way it is right now because of that, because of transphobia, because of homophobia, because of racism above all. That's all it is. And that's all Monster High fights against since the beginning of Monster High as a concept. Every Monster High Generation 1 movie is about accepting the differences and accepting the love. And again, that doesn't include oppression. You do not belong in Monster High if you're trying to oppress a system, oppress a group of people that are minorities. So no, you do not belong in Monster High if you are not inclusive, because that's Monster High's main message. And again, for people that say it's not that deep, I'm sorry, it is, because cautionary tales have always been a thing. And that's what media is. That's what media is, I'm sorry. Because those are the same people to try to compare it in different ways to fit their narratives. So it works in your favor when it works for you, when it's convenient for you, because when it's not, it's not. Now, one thing I think about all the time is if you don't like something, ignore it. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Like, there are many ways for you to exist on the internet without being so hateful and so moved by your hate. Now, one thing I also do, I block those people. I delete their comments because I don't want you here. If you are going to be so hateful and so disrespectful to anything, because if you're talking about a doll, in a sense that you're saying like, why is Frankie non-binary, blah, 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 why is Caddy Noir fat? You are doing that in real life. You're talking about people in real life. You are literally, like, that's who you are. That's my whole point. They are just dolls. No, you are, that's a reflection of who you are as a person in existing in society. So if you are a racist, you are a racist no matter what. No matter what. If you're slut shaming Frankie, for example, in Generation 1, because there's also that, like, God forbid, like, y'all can't be happy because you have things to say about Generation 1 as well. So, slut shaming Frankie, you are probably the first person in line to slut shame someone in real life. That's who you are. Those are your beliefs. That's a reflection of who you are. So my whole point is Monster High was built for and on acceptance and love and respect. And it has always had queer references. Always, always. I'm sorry, but some designs are just queer. And again, it was created by a queer man. So if you're so against all of this and if you're so pro everything that's going on in this country right now, I will die on that hill. Why are you into Monster High? Because that makes you a hypocrite. That makes you a hypocrite. I'm sorry. It does. Because every Monster High movie, G1, G2, G3, they all have one thing in common. They can be different generations, different aesthetics, different storylines, but one thing they all have in common: acceptance, love. No room for hate. No room for every villain learns their lesson in Monster High at the end of the day. And that's such a beautiful thing. That's such a powerful message for kids, regardless. Somebody commented on my Frankie video about like transphobia in the Monster High community. They're like, wow, but they can do whatever they want, but like, don't teach that to kids. Don't teach what to kids? Love? Acceptance? Okay, so we're not allowed to teach kids to respect one another regardless. They're not teaching kids to be non-binary, honey. They're teaching kids how to respect someone that identifies as non-binary. That's your problem. You always flip the script and the narrative for whatever you want to see. Because you're so narrow-minded and you can't see, you don't have like a peripheral vision where you can look around and see the world around you. Because Monster High is not Generation 3 is not teaching kids how to be non-binary. They're teaching kids how to respect a kid that identifies as non-binary. Because that, honey, that is not taught. That's not taught. That's who you are. You are born that way. You don't learn to be that way. Now, if you think you have the choice, it's because you are making the choice. If you think being gay is a choice, you're making that choice every day not to be gay. So you think that I have the choice because you feel like you have the choice. So maybe you're just closeted and I'm just clocking you. Because I've always been gay. I've never seen anyone gay ever. Where I grew up in Brazil, in a little small town in Brazil, I never knew any gays, ever. Never watched anything. I come from a Christian household. Man and woman, pink is for girls, blue is for boys. I grew up like that. And look at me now. I've always been queer since I was a kid. And I didn't have to watch a kid's show that showed that. I didn't have to anything. And I turned out like this. So no, that narrative that they're indoctrinating kids and teaching kids how to be non-binary and this and that and the other, that doesn't work. They're teaching how to respect kids that identify that way. Plus, it's not your place. It's not your kid. Now, if you think like that, in my opinion, you shouldn't even have kids to begin with. If your love is so conditional, you shouldn't even have kids. But that's a different topic. So what I want to say is I've been thinking about this for so freaking long. And I do Instagram stories and I pop in here and there and do a video. But I was like, you know what? I just want to sit down and let the words flow and just like talk about it, because that's a subject that's so important to me. And if you get triggered by the truth, because I'm sorry, this is not an opinion, right? I'm just speaking facts here. Everything I've said on this video, and it's been like what, almost 19 minutes, I'm just spilling facts. I'm not even like giving you my opinion. These are just how things are, right? So if you think that someone being themselves or Monster High's message is wrong, then leave. Literally leave. Now, social media content creation is my full-time job now in 2026. And I will never sell my authenticity, my truth, my beliefs to a system that really is built to oppress me. When in reality, Monster High was created to be a scapegoat and a safe space to kids that feel like they don't belong. Now, I say this all the time as well. Like, not to say that, like, if you're cis, heterosexual, straight, like straight, white, and all the privileges, you do belong in Monster High if you're not a bigot. Look at Cleo Denial. She's the queen bee. She's privileged. She's rich. She's not white, but she's rich. She's pretty. She runs the school, right, in Generation 1. She still belongs because she accepts people for who they are. She might have her flaws because freaky flaws and all, but she was never a bigot. She was not, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you don't have to be like me to fit in or belong in Monster High. But Monster High was created to tell people like me that they belong because everyone else is telling them otherwise. Now, not to, like, just to give you a little, like, I don't want to get into like childhood trauma and all that stuff, but like I'll tell you guys about my upbringing and who I am. When I was a kid, I was overweight. I was very feminine. And again, I went to private schools and with very privileged people and kids who were mostly straight or looked fit. And I was always picked on for being queer, Matt's too gay. Oh my gosh, why do you like to play with the girls? But I was so lucky. There was this girl, Yasmin. I don't know where she is. And like, one of my I need to find her. I need to find her. I don't know how to find her. Again, she moved from my town like when we were kids. And back then we didn't have social media. So it was very like, it was hard, you know, to connect with people. But I would love to meet her. But she was one of my closest friends. She had all the Barbies and Bratz dolls and icing dolls you can possibly think. She was loaded. Her mom was rich. So we would play Barbies and her mom would let me sleep over. I had a great childhood, but outside of her house and at school and other places, I was literally oppressed. But I grew up to be who I am today. And I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of how far I've come in life and to accept who I am and to love who I am and to stand up for even other communities that might be less privileged than me, like Black people. I stand up for racism. I'm not fully white, obviously. In America, I'm considered Latin American because I'm from Brazil, even though I'm Portuguese and Italian. So technically I am white, but I am not. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, obviously I do see like different sides of the spectrum. But I will always stand up for everybody, for any sort of injustice and unfairness, because that's just who I am. And I know how much it hurts to be oppressed and to be just mistreated for who you are. And I will never accept that. So if you follow me and you support that kind of behavior and you support whatever is going on in the country right now, I dare say I don't even want you here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm being really honest. Like, yes, my job requires people to enjoy what I do, which I'm really happy and grateful that that my content resonate with a lot of people. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't, I don't want you here. I really don't. I want people that are accepting, loving, caring, and that they stand up for what's right. Because I'm just wrapping up here. Because at the end of the day, that's what Monster High stands for. That's what Monster High was created, whether you like it or not. And it will always be. And I love Generation 3 so much. I love Generation 1, but I absolutely love Generation 3. Because the fatter, the better, the darker, the better, the queerer, the better, the louder, the better. And I will never settle for less. This is who I am. I'm happy I did this video. Like I said, it was so spontaneous. I was sitting on my couch, scrolling through social media, seeing a bunch of injustice. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I don't need my lights. I'm literally in front of my window right now. I don't need my lights. I don't need my studio. I don't need all I need is this. And I'm happy I did so. And it feels so good. It feels so good. And I hope you can take something away from this video, or the whole message, even better. But one thing you should know about me, and I want you to leave with this one: I will always stand up for what's right. I will always call out any bigotry, and I'll never change. I'll never change. So thank you for being here. I love you. And stay safe. Stay safe in this climate and help one another, love one another. And that's all I can ask for. I love you.